to remove the fear, you've got to have confidence, and to have the confidence, you've got to have knowledge. And the only way to have the knowledge is either to learn it or earn it. And I've earned plenty over the last 25 years of doing it, but I still learn every day by having the humility, and B, the desire to ask other people for the things that I'm lacking.
Attention all entrepreneurs, marketers, and dreamers. Are you ready to revolutionize your digital presence? Introducing my latest game changer, Podcasting Legacy. How to start, launch, and run a podcast to leave a legacy. Dive into the secrets of successful podcasting. Learn how to craft compelling content, build an engaged audience, and monetize your passion. This isn't just an ebook. This is your ticket to start, launch, and run a podcast to leave a legacy. Imagine having expert strategies at your fingertips, guiding you through every step of the way. Whether you're a novice or a pro, this ebook will transform your podcast into a legacy. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Grab your copy now and start creating a podcast that leaves a lasting impact. Visit erikallenmedia.com and unlock the doors to your legacy. Elevate your voice, inspire the audience, and leave your mark on the world. Podcasting Legacy, your journey to podcasting greatness. Matt, you're a husband, you're a father, entrepreneur, investor, mentor, philanthropist, and even a magician, man, and so much more. Thank you for your time, dude. I appreciate it.
No worries, buddy. The magician bit. Yeah. I always talk about that now, because the worst thing about saying that you used to be a magician as a kid is that people immediately go, show me a trick. Can you show me a trick? And I'm embarrassed to say that I just can't do it anymore. And I mean, I probably started to learn magic when I was 9 or 10 years old. Was obsessed as a teenager. It was my first job in a local restaurant when I was kind of 15 to probably 17 years old.
Yeah.
But then when I stopped and I started to work, I just I didn't lose interest. I just lost touch.
Sure.
But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's like when someone says, "Oh, do you ever play the piano?" and they expect that you can, rack out a concerto there and then. But and honestly, for about 15 years, I've said, this summer I'm going to take a few magic tricks away with me, take a deck of cards, and I'm going to catch up with a few tricks. At least I've got 10 or 12 I can have in my repertoire, and I still haven't done it. But literally, we said this before we started recording, that I'm here in Spain, where I spend the summer, and upstairs I've got a bag of tricks that I brought from England, and I brought them here 3 months ago, and I've not even opened them.
Hey, man, you got to enjoy that time with your family, dude. Totally understand that. That's awesome, man. Well, I like to kick my show off by going back a bit. And you kind of touched base a little bit there, but like, where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
So I'm English, as I'm sure everyone can tell, and I grew up in a town called Leeds, a city called Leeds in the north of England. I was born and raised there, and I mean, my upbringing was good, was nice. My parents, my dad owned his own business, ultimately a very successful business. That he sold for quite big money when I was probably 17 or 18 years old. He only got that capital sum when I was 17 or 18. So during the rest of my childhood, he was he was a high earner, high income earner. So listen, we were never flying in private jets, but I never wanted for anything as a kid. I went to private education. I was well looked after. We had 3 or 4 nice holidays a year. So I can't tell a tale of me climbing out of poverty and being let's say the first self-made person in my family. But that said, I was always I guess born, or certainly grew a hunger and desire to achieve great things in business myself. I never like to say the words like more than my father did, because not that I'm trying to put him down or be disrespectful in any way, but just because I guess I had aspirations of like when I said we were never flying in private jets, but I wanted to fly in private jets. So we had a nice summer house. I wanted to have summer houses in every country. But so I like my entrepreneurial drive. I think was probably 2 or 3-fold really. One, it was obviously, I guess, in my blood in some way, because I grew up with a business owning father, and I spent a lot of time in his world. So I was always exposed to what went on. So I guess it naturally became an interest. But also, I mean, we go back to, I'm 42 years old now. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, when you were talking about what were you going to do when you grow up. It was very much in those days the only way you could make big money, or certainly the only way it was perceived you could make big money, was to own your own business. So I wanted to be a business owner, not because, look, at 10 years old, I can't love business. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I wanted to be rich. And I was, basically told, or the belief very much was, the only way to make big money was to own your own business. So I was going to be a business owner. I didn't know what business it was going to be. I just knew I was going to be a business owner. And I guess I spent my teenage years, trying to turn my hand to any business I could. I mean, that was typically buying and selling a product, buying and selling products and selling them at the market, trying to squat on domain names, because we're talking the early to mid 90s here, when the internet's just becoming a thing. I did the magician gig, but that was just because I love magic and I wanted to earn some money. I wanted a watch, actually. I wanted a Rolex. And my parents said that if I wanted a Rolex, then I had to go and buy my own Rolex. So that's why I went and became the magician in the local restaurant. Started in proper business. I worked in a family business when I was 18 years old. It was a failing business. Business that my dad had invested in. He'd invested a small amount that became a bigger amount and a bigger amount. But he was never really working there. I went in there to work in sales. And I'd be coming home from dinner every night, because I was still living at home back then, saying, listen, guys, dad, mom, that they're taking advantage of you in this business, that they're stealing your money, they're running it into the ground, please come in and do something about it. And my dad had just sold his main business at the time, and he was very much my mindset of, I can't be bothered, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but, I've had enough, and, if they take my money, they take my money. So one night he kind of turned around, and probably he was just tired of me bleating on about, bleating on and ruining the family dinner. But he said, you go in there and you can run it, do what you want with it. You can't do it any worse than they've done. And I went in the next day, and I literally fired everybody. Fired everybody apart from this little old guy who worked in the warehouse. And over the next 3 years, built the business up from nothing, from less than nothing, because it was a business where the customers didn't want to deal with us, the suppliers didn't want to supply us, the bank didn't want to fund us. Nobody wanted to work for us. I mean, we had to rebuild everything. We had to decide what our new product range was going to be. We had to find a way to recruit staff. We had to find new suppliers to suppliers. And I always say that I didn't do it well because I knew what I was doing. I just knew what we shouldn't be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, what anybody else shouldn't be doing. And I guess it was a combination of not doing what we shouldn't be doing and applying some common sense, and fact that I was obviously emotionally, financially, and I guess biologically, because of my parents invested in its success. And after 3 years, it went from a £300,000 loss to a £30,000 profit. And I would say it's not big numbers. I mean, even back then, 25 years ago, it wasn't big numbers, but it was just a principle that I'd been able to take it from a loss to a profit, and I'd learned so much during that time. I mean, when I used to have this conversation, I used to say, I learned everything there is to know. But then I learned, when I went to my next stage in life and my next phase of business, I learned very quickly that I certainly hadn't learned everything, and there was a lot more to learn.
Yeah.
So finished in there, went on to go and open a bar, because I was bored with the other business, and I knew that I wanted to work in leisure. And that was when things got really successful for me. And my first bar wasn't very successful. Neither was my second, but I then opened a strip club, which was phenomenally successful. And then across the course of the next probably 5 or 6 years, I became the biggest strip club operator in the UK. I had a vast portfolio of bars and clubs. I had restaurants. I started a finance company because I'd spent so much time borrowing money that I learned how to lend money. Wow. I had a personal property portfolio, and I was riding very high. And then June, July, September 2008, credit crunch, for anyone who's old enough to remember or who studies history, was kicking in, and literally overnight I went from 8-figure business owner, 7-figure spender to bankrupt. The businesses were put into liquidation. I had personal guarantees all over the place, so I called on those guarantees, and literally within the space of, I say overnight, but it wasn't much longer than overnight. In the space of probably 3 to 6 weeks, everything was gone, and I was sat at home with a 1-year-old daughter, a wife, and a mortgage, and it was back to square one.
Wow. Man, what a crazy story and journey that you've been on. When you're going through those failures, and as entrepreneurs, we all hit failures at some point there. We all have this level of fear that runs through us. Like, how do you handle fear though when it creeps in?
It's an interesting question, and a way I've never been asked it before. I mean, I I don't think I have fear. Right?
Hmm.
That's not to say that, not because I'm probably numb or stupid to it, but I think for me the opposite of fear would be confidence. I mean, I know that's probably not technically true. You can still have fear while being confident, but I am confident in the things I do because I have knowledge and understanding on how to do them. And where I haven't got knowledge and understanding, I've got the humility to admit it and ask somebody else, and normally I've got access to the other people to ask. So I guess, look, if you'd have asked me back then, I mean, when I was 27, 28 going bankrupt, I didn't have any fear because I was young and stupid. I mean, so it's probably not a great barometer to work from. But if you ask me about, now, when I take risks now that can lose me money, or that can, theoretically be quite problematic, for me, I kind of know, in inverted commas, it's not going to be problematic because I understand, I understand that particular area, or I understand that dynamic, or I understand that particular bit of business. And I think that's it for me. To remove the fear, you've got to have confidence, and to have the confidence, you've got to have knowledge. And the only way to have the knowledge is either to learn it or earn it. And I've earned plenty over the last 25 years of doing it, but I still learn every day by having the humility, and B, the desire to ask other people for the things that I'm lacking.
Come on. Oh, so good, dude. So good. For someone who's listening and they're wanting to, get into entrepreneurship or start a business, like, what's the most important thing that they need to do first?
I mean, I say to anyone starting a business, and it's funny because when you get out, I could have been asked this question many times over the last 20 years, but my answer always changes as time goes on and I become more experienced. And I think the
Yeah.
first thing I say to anyone now starting a business is you've got to accept that you know nothing.
Mm.
I think the reason so many businesses fail, and the biggest mistakes business owners make, is that they think they know everything, or they certainly think they know a lot. That they're too embarrassed to ask for help. And the analogy I always give with it is, I mean, we make lots of comparisons between business and sports, in life in general. But I think if we were to talk about sports, and if we were to say to somebody, "Oh, you're thinking about, because you're starting to play football tomorrow," um, there would never ever be a concept of conversation around the fact that tomorrow, when they start in football, that they would be going and playing for Manchester United. I mean, it would be beyond laughable. It would be beyond
Yeah.
laughable that they could even play in a Sunday team because they've never played football before. And it would be very normal and not embarrassing and not hurting their ego to say that they're taking some lessons and they keep tripping up every day and they've got a long way to go. But if we then take that analogy across to business and say, I'm starting a business tomorrow, well, because there's no barrier to entry, and because there's no league table per se, I think people just automatically think, or assume that they are, because you're a business owner. Yesterday you weren't, but today you are. You're now a business owner, and these people think that they can sit alongside Elon Musk and Richard Branson, or anybody else there who's got years of success, or years of scars. And there's this bizarre, I guess, ego or arrogance, that people can't ask for help, or can't ask for advice, or that it looks weak that you say that you don't know something. I mean, I've been playing tennis. I'm not into football. I've been playing tennis for 20 odd years. I'm a reasonably decent player, but if I say I'm going to take a tennis lesson tomorrow, no one bats an eyelid. It's just the normal thing to do. If I say I'm going to have a meeting with my business coach or my marketing coach or something, people who would immediately put a face or laugh, and that's saying it to me after, with all my confidence, and after 20 years of doing it. And I guess I understand why people are embarrassed to do it on the first days of business, or the first weeks, or the first year. But for me, that's the biggest flaw, or I think biggest lesson that anyone starting a business should learn. Whatever business you're going into, there's a big difference between, let's say, selling a product and running a business, or working for somebody else and running it, and running the show for yourself. So be ready to learn a lot, be ready to have an open mind, and be ready for a lot of pain.
Man, that's so good. And it's so true. Entrepreneurship, sometimes you eat like kings and sometimes you eat top ramen.
Hey, this is a quick shout out from one of our awesome sponsors. Check this out. Thank you to Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Look, my wife and I, we see Tracy and her team every single month for a couples massage, and it is the best thing. Tracy is a master massage specialist and a Hanu Ashiatu trainer. You need to reach out to Tracy and her team. Make sure that you tell them that I sent you, and you'll get $25 off your next massage. Also, while you're there, check out CDA Brows, Body, and Ink. Make sure to tell Tracy that I sent you, and you'll save $100 on your next tattoo, brows, and plasma tightening services.
But for you, like you've talked about, like you found these people that were doing the business already. You kind of found these mentors there. How important is it to have a mentor as you're going through business, and how do folks even find mentors?
I mean, for me, I think, we should all have mentors, whether we're in business or not. Having mentors is just great for progressing and improving life in general. I think, for me as well, the key is to have, different mentors for different areas. I mean, I think, we can change or substitute the word mentor for coach or advisor, or, whatever you want to call it. But I think, for me, the key thing about mentors is that, they are, let's say, circumstance specific. So in the same way that, you're not going to go and ask a football coach how to play better tennis, or or a running coach how to lift better weights. There's people to advise you in your business or to mentor you in your business who are specialists in their different sectors. And someone may be a great marketer but terrible at finance. They may be not so good at finance, or they may be quite good at finance but not so good at human resources or operations or whatever it is. So I've got dozens and dozens of mentors for all different things, whether it's someone to help me with marketing, or whether it's just someone to be my buddy in an ice bath, I think, it's just understanding that, a mentor is someone who's been there before you in the journey. They may not be a world expert; they're just a bit more experienced at it than I am. That's the question number one, I think you asked. And secondly, where would you go and find them? Although I'll just substitute in there before I answer that, I think I've always had mentors because I've always kind of had an open mind to that concept of learning. But if you ask me when I was in my early 20s and late 20s, I would never have said I've got formal mentors. I mean, because I never really understood it or thought about it in those terms. Yes, there were people I would have gone to ask for help. But if you ask me now, I'm kind of proud to sit down with my list of of mentors, and I go and actively seek out more. But in terms of how you get them, really, I guess it's like building any relationship. It's networking with the right people, but then also reaching out to ask. Again, having the humility to accept that you don't know everything about that particular area, and someone else can help you. And again, there has to be an exchange of value, really. I mean, for sure. And I've got two kinds of mentors. I've got ones that cost me nothing, and I've got ones that cost me something. And the ones that cost me nothing, they might not cost me in pounds and pence, but they cost me because I've probably got something that I can offer them in return for what they can offer me. I don't know, if somebody might be teaching me about exercise or mindset or meditation, which are things that I'm very, very low down the ladder on, and they might be then in return picking my brains about business or marketing, as something that's an exchange of value there. But there's other people that I'll pay for. Whether that's by the hour, whether it's a mastermind. If someone can add value, if someone can provide an ROI, then you can't be afraid to pay.
Yes. Oh man, it's so important to have those mentors in your life, man. And always be, I just got done today with a 3-month mastermind coaching program that I've been with. It's awesome. And, I'm getting ready to go into another one here right now, and just always constantly have to be, getting mentored. And, when I spoke with Ed Milet, one of the things he told me was constant and never ending improvement. And so I've just always kind of put that in my mindset. Like I always need to be improving. With about just a little bit left to go on the show, I wanted to bring this thing up. I saw on your website. I think it was hilarious, but it was also so awesome. I want to talk about this moment about Natalie Imbruglia. She is an awesome musician, and I'm definitely a fan of hers as well. But you at one point owned the .com with her name on it. Like, tell me what happened there.
It's funny that so that's what I was referring to when I was talking about domain squatting in the mid 90s when I was probably 16, 17. I mean, it's crazy to think in today's world of short attention spans and short-lived celebrity that she's actually still well known now, or still reasonably well known now. I mean, the background of the story was I was probably 15 or 16, and a friend of a friend had just bought the domain name spicegirls.com. So, I mean, this shows how long ago this was, because I mean, you can't even, if you went online now to try and buy like blah, 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 .com. I mean, it's pretty. Somebody's already taken it. I mean, to be able to get a single word or a celebrity's name was just unthinkable. But this guy, he bought SpiceGirls.com, and he'd made some money from selling email addresses on there. You could have had Erik at SpiceGirls.com for like $10 a month or something, and then he sold the domain name for $250K back to their management team at the time.
Wow!
So I thought, what a great idea. And I was a big Natalie Imbruglia fan at the time, so I've gone online, gone into whatever the equivalent of GoDaddy was back then, and typed in Natalie Imbruglia, and there was available the .com, the .co.uk, the hyphenated, Natalie-Imbruglia. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. How have they not got it? So I bought them on. I forget what you pay back then. It was more expensive than it was nowadays, but it's still £50, $75 or something. Nothing exciting. So I bought 3 or 4 different variants of NatalieImbruglia.com. And my great plan was that I was going to build a little website up there just to, I guess just to formalize its existence, contact her management team, and then offer to sell them the name back, which was going to make me my millions, and also I'd be able to use it as a chance to meet Natalie at the time as well, and I'd be able to woo her and spend the millions I've earned from her name, being able to run off into the sunset with her. So when I contacted the management team, I think I got put in touch with a PR. I remember this lady in a PR agency or PR side of the business, and their initial reaction was one of just disgust that you're blackmailing us. That's our name. You've stolen it. How can you do that? Which again shows how long ago this story was, that that people didn't even really know what was going on back then. And I had a few weeks or so of going backwards and forwards with them to try and to try and get them to buy the name. They wouldn't do it. I forget their exact reason at the time, but bottom line, they wouldn't do it. And I ended up putting a for sale sign on the website, and a fellow fan / stalker gave me, I don't know, £500, £1,000. I can't remember what it was, but it was enough to technically declare a profit, and chalk that one up to experience and move on to the next chapter in my future business career.
Man, I love that, dude. Such a cool story, dude. That's awesome, man. Well, as we come up to the end of the show here, like, what's coming up next for you? Like, what are you most excited about right now?
Well, I mean, when we were telling my story, I kind of finished at the age of 28 when I went bankrupt, and we missed out the next 15 years, which was basically me rebuilding chapter 2 of my life, where I now run a finance and investment business, and I've raised money all around the world from high net worth investors, from funds and from family offices, and then I lend and invest in primarily UK businesses. I mean, I've deployed over £500 million to UK businesses. And that is the core of what I do. I lend to small businesses. And we don't really invest in equity, but I'll invest my time, if you like, or my management team's capital, not as in people capital. So that's what keeps me busy. That's what gets me up in the morning, and I can't ever see that changing. I don't think. Unless I'm going to be doing business until the day I die, and being able to. Whilst every day is a day of lending, every day is a day of a different story, because every business has got its own quirks. Every owner and founder has got their own quirks. So every day is a different day. So that keeps me busy. In terms of what's next, I mean, me and my team I've been very busy on my personal brand over the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's something I've probably worked on even before we kind of used to use the word personal brand. I've been a massive advocate of networking, of building networks, and I put down most of my big successes over the past 20 plus years to relationships that I've built with somebody that's come from my networking. So I think being able to personally brand in a digital way is something I'm fully behind. So I mean, I've got a pretty active social presence. Obviously we met on my podcast. I've got my own podcast. I launched a newsletter recently where we've got 8,500 subscribers. Got a book in the offing as well. So that all that's keeping me busy. But in the main, just loving building relationships with investors and lending that money to small businesses who've got an exciting story to tell, but a hole in their cash flow.
I love it, man. So good, dude. Last question I want to ask you, just as a fellow dad, like, what's your favorite part about being a dad?
Favorite part about being dad, and for me, just the simple stuff, like just seeing the smiley face, smelling the cheeks. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've got my elder daughter's 17. She'll be driving next week. She's 17 on the 6th of September. But I have I have a newborn as well who's 4 months and 2 weeks. So I mean, I've got it from both ends of the spectrum. My little girl, new baby, she's always around in the background, when I'm working. And, I think just seeing her puts a smile on my face, and then between Zoom calls, just to be able to go and say, give her a kiss, or, smell her cheeks that normally smell of vomit. But it's funny because when it's baby vomiting, it's your your baby, that vomit smells like the finest cologne, doesn't it?
Totally.
And yeah, just that. And even when they get older, it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, my daughter's grown up in an environment where we've always been, we've never wanted for money, and we've travelled, and she's never not really gotten what she wanted. But I mean, she's a very, very grounded girl, much more grounded than I am. So I'm very lucky in that department. I can probably thank her mum. But if I look back over the last 17 years, and you ask me like, what were the best times with her? Not one of them probably involves more than a $50 spend. It's all the Cheesecake Factory trips, or the Nando's and Netflix, or the laughing over a silly joke or whatever it is. And so I guess but being a parent, I guess it's almost like having a first date with your favorite girl every day for the rest of your life.
Come on. I love that, dude. I've never looked at it that way. So good. So good, man. Matt, you're an absolute world changer, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening and joining me. I'm so excited for what you got going on. Your podcast, amazing show. I'm excited for your book and your business, man. Just absolutely killing it, man. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me, Erik.
Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I really appreciate it. I hope that my guest was able to bring you some amazing wisdom and knowledge to help you continue to fight for your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. If you could do me one big favor and just hit that subscribe button, I would so appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Keep changing the world. I believe in you. Have an amazing day.